Welcome, everybody. I want to introduce, or probably more rightly reintroduce, a guest that we've had on before. David, if you don't already know, is the author of a book called Systemology. And we have a lot of clients who've had a great success with the Systemology method, with what Dave teaches. So I'd like to hand over to Dave. Welcome, my friend. Great to have you back again. And I'm really looking forward to what you're going to present to us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I want you to answer that question. Well, where do I start when I'm systemizing my business? And I want to help you go from overwhelmed to on vacation. So if we think of like a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is I'm overwhelmed, I can't step away from the business for more than a day or two with everything grinding to a halt. Whereas the other end of the scale, 10, is you could go on vacation, you could take a break, things could keep progressing as normal, and you wouldn't miss a beat in the business. I know you've heard this idea of building a systemized business. Everybody loves the idea of building a profitable business that works without them. You might have this picture in your head of what you think a systemized business is, and that kind of ends up sabotaging as you start to systemize. I want you to see that systems are important and they're urgent. And I want you to see that not systemizing is actually costing you a lot more than you realize. It creates stress inside your business. It's taking you extra time. It's robbing efficiency from you and your team. It's stopping the growth. There's very real possibility you've hit, a plateau and your business is capping out because you are that critical bottleneck. It's something that you need to master at some point if you want to step out of the day-to-day operations, if you want to build a business that doesn't depend on you, if you want to build a business that can grow and scale beyond you, and so you can even take a holiday and have things just keep moving over. You've got to master this idea of systems. If you don't feel like you're a systems person, then we need to find other ways for you to still be able to systemize your business and get the benefits of a systemized business without you necessarily having to write out the systems and the processes yourself. That's the plan for what we're going to go through, starting off by thinking about, well, where are you at right now? Because if you figure out where you're at, then it makes it easier to figure out where you want to get to. So I found there's basically 4 stages. You go from the base of the pyramid, it's survival, then we go into stationary mode, we move into scalable, and then ultimately we're working towards this idea of getting to saleable. That's where we want to get to. So where are you in your business? At the base of the pyramid, this idea of survival, this is where the team makes things up as they go. They're in firefighting mode. No one really likes process. Every time a new client comes on board, you're just making stuff up. Like, let's reinvent the wheel. We're customizing and tailoring everything for every client, and everybody has their own way of doing things. No one's really following any process. And at this point, the business owner is very much the bottleneck of the business. I find at this survival mode, usually the business owner doesn't have the insight that they are the bottleneck. So the next stage up is this idea of stationary. Now, stationary, as the name says, it kind of feels like you're moving sideways. Oftentimes, the criteria or characteristics of being at level 2 is the systems and the processes, they're all stored in people's heads. You're very person dependent. Maybe, if Sally doesn't appear for work on Tuesday, invoices don't get sent out. You're heavily dependent on people to make sure parts of your business continue moving. And you've got some people who might like systems and others who don't. The key, if you're at this level, is you need to extract the IP from those team members' heads, whether it's you or your key team members. Then we're at the next stage up. And at each one of these stages, be thinking, where am I? And you might have a foot in 1 or 2 of these levels, but you want to get a feeling for where you're at. Level 3 is this idea of being scalable. Now, what scalable is, it's funny. A lot of people think, when I'm at scalable, my business is ready for scale. I'm ready to go. But there's a big distinction between level 3 and 4. Level 3, you've got things partially documented. it's like a clunky solution. You've got some software that's cobbled together, but maybe all of your documents are stored on someone's desktop and they're in someone else's Google Drive, and there's no real central way of doing things. So the key at this stage is to start to organize that knowledge. And probably the biggest giveaway that you might be in stage number 3 is if you have to constantly remind the team to follow the process. We've got systems, follow the process. That's how you know that you're at scalable. The final stage, which is where we want to get to, is this idea of saleable. And it's not that you want to sell your business, but rather your business could be sold, as in someone would go, hey, this business works without you. You've completely documented the way that you do business. It runs like a Swiss watch. And the biggest giveaway is the team says, this is how we do things here. And that's when you really start to optimize your process. Where do you start with systemization? The big thing here, when systemizing a business, there's potentially hundreds and hundreds of things you could systemize. There's HR and finance and marketing and sales and operations and management and all of these different systems. And what ends up happening with that level of overwhelm when you're starting with systemization, people don't know where to start. They don't know, well, what is the first system? And then they end up systemizing something that has low impact on the business, that doesn't really help move them closer to the objective of the business. How do we identify the 20% of the systems that deliver the 80% of the result? Just start there. My suggestion is always capture what you're doing first as a base level, because you can get tremendous wins by just getting everybody to do things consistently.
I like it. I want to re-emphasize to people that this is an iterative process that you're going to do over time, right? So you're not going to get it perfect on day one. The temptation is, okay, I've got to block off a month to work on everything and make it all perfect.
Yeah, 100%. All it is a map to keep you on course, to stop people running off and doing shiny objects. Keep coming back to it. Keep chiseling it, keep improving it. I mean, you'll never be able to do the complex if you can't do the simple. So just start with one first. Make it easy for yourself and for your team. Get the win and build the culture. And I mean, this touches on what we'll cover in a moment, a little bit about culture, because that's really where the rubber hits the road. Once you're clear on what you need to do, you then need to foster this culture of systems and do it over a period of time. And if you don't see yourself as a systems person, you need to do what Allan's done and what I've done. You find your Claire and you find your operations manager who is a systems person, who runs the team, crosses the T's and dots the I's, makes sure process is followed, so that then that frees you up as the business owner to do the work that you do best. One thing that you might want to do is figure out who on your team is going to help with this, because you're so busy anyway. The idea of you documenting systems and processes is probably snowball's chance in hell of happening, because you just don't have enough time anyway. The second secret is you want to develop what we call a system for creating systems. And it's simple. Like, the whole idea is we record a video first. We have the systems champion and they meet with a knowledgeable worker who does the task. They record the task getting done. That system that gets saved into a central location. And then we have that systems champion go through, watch the video and pull out the key bullet points. You're not re-engineering anything. You're not dreaming up some fancy sales conversion strategy or anything like that. We're just capturing what you're currently doing. And I guarantee this will create a tremendous win for you. The last thing we want to talk about is then about getting your team involved. Some of the biggest challenges that you'll have, I suppose, it comes from your existing team. So just take solace knowing that that's normal, and your biggest resistance is going to come from the team member who says, we've always done it this way. Why do we need to change? But once you get over that initial resistance, it actually gets easier, because every new team member that comes on board goes, well, this is the way that we've always done things. This is all I know. And there's no real resistance. So this is why systemizing is so hard up front. All of the resistance comes up front. And you just need to think about how you're going to handle that resistance. And then if any issues happen, you always blame it on the system. Like, if someone makes a mistake while you're trying to get this in place, you always go back to the system and go, oh, did you follow the system or the process? If they're following the system or the process, well, where did it break down? It's never the team member's fault. It's always the system's fault. Recruit people who resonate with the idea of systems, because it will make your life infinitely easier. I told you at the start, I personally don't like documenting systems. I don't see myself as a systems guy. What happened is I fell in love with the result of what systems gives. I've seen the difference between those that are systemized versus those that aren't, and they're a night and day difference. They are worlds apart. And that's what's got me so motivated to go, I need to spread this message to every business owner I can and say, you can own a systems-driven business, even if you don't see yourself as a systems person. Like if you're a visionary creative like I am, you can still have a systems-driven business.